All right, so every year, India's union budget drops, and it's basically the roadmap for one of the biggest economies on the planet. The 2026-27 budget is no different, but what's it really telling us about the country's ambitions? Let's unpack it.
So what is the government's economic game plan here? I mean, how are they planning to juggle super fast growth, support a massive population, and still keep the national checkbook balanced? That is exactly what we're about to find out.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty, you've got to understand the one huge vision that's framing everything in this budget. It's called Viksit Bharat, which means developed India. The goal is to hit that target by 2047, which is the 100th anniversary of independence. Think of it as the North Star for every policy we're going to talk about.
Okay, so to really see how they plan to get there, we're going to follow the budget's own structure. And it's all built around 3 core duties. We'll explore each one, and then, we'll get to the part everyone's waiting for, what it all means for the country's finances, and of course, for your taxes.
Right. Let's kick things off with that big picture vision. The finance minister has framed this entire budget around one powerful concept, kartavya.
So what is kartavya? Well, it's a Sanskrit word, and it basically means duty or obligation. The whole idea here is that the government's plan isn't just a list of policies, but it's structured as 3 fundamental duties to the nation.
And here they are, the big 3. First, the duty to accelerate and sustain economic growth. Second, to help people fulfill their own aspirations by building up their skills and potential. And third, and this is crucial, to make sure that growth is inclusive and actually reaches every single citizen.
So let's dig into that first duty, powering the economy. The government is using a really strong metaphor to signal just how serious they are about this.
They're calling it the Reform Express. I mean, the name kind of says it all, doesn't it? It's meant to signal a high-speed, non-stop commitment to economic reforms. We're talking over 350 of them just since 2025. The message is pretty clear. This train is not slowing down. And what's fueling this whole express train? A staggering amount of public investment. We're talking 12.2 lakh crore rupees. That's 12.2 trillion, or about 150 billion US dollars, set aside for capital expenditure. Most of that is going into infrastructure. It is a massive number meant to build the literal backbone of a modern economy.
Now, what's really interesting here is where all that money is going. It's not just about more roads and bridges. You see a major push into strategic manufacturing. Think biopharma and semiconductors. And get this, there's a dedicated 10,000 crore rupee fund to create what they're calling champion small and medium enterprises, basically to help them level up and compete on the world stage.
Okay, let's switch gears to the second duty, investing in people. Because let's be honest, a strong economy is nothing without a skilled and capable workforce to run it. The finance minister really summed up this whole duty perfectly. The goal isn't just to talk about potential, it's to create actual pathways for people to turn their ambitions into real-world success. This is all about investing in human capital.
And this is where you can see that idea in action. The focus is super specific on creating skilled professionals in areas that are booming. For instance, training 150,000 caregivers for the growing care economy. And this one is really cool. Setting up labs for animation, visual effects, and gaming in 15,000 schools, tapping right into the creative energy of young Indians.
And that leads us right into the third duty, making absolutely sure that the benefits of all this growth don't just stay at the top, but that they reach every single citizen.
This duty is really guided by the philosophy of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, which translates to together with all, development for all. It's the government's core principle for inclusive growth.
So how does that philosophy actually play out? Well, you see these very targeted programs like new initiatives to boost farmer incomes with high-value crops. And this one is fascinating. She-Marts, a program designed to help rural women entrepreneurs scale up from small groups to running their own community stores. That, plus a major focus on developing India's eastern states, shows the goal isn't just for growth to be fast, but also fair. Okay, so we've got the 3 duties: power the economy, invest in people, and include everyone. But the big question is always, how is it all getting paid for? Let's get to the bottom line: taxes and the nation's financial health.
First things first, the government is signaling a very strong commitment to being fiscally disciplined. This chart shows the fiscal deficit. That's the gap between what the government spends and what it earns, is projected to continue its downward trend. The target is 4.3% of GDP, and hitting that is key to maintaining economic stability.
Now for what might be the biggest news for a lot of individuals. A brand new Income Tax Act is coming. The stated goal here is a complete overhaul to simplify the whole system with clearer rules and easier forms. The hope is that this will make tax time way less of a headache for millions of people.
And for individuals, there are some pretty direct changes. Take a look at the tax collected at source, or TCS. For overseas tour packages, that rate is getting slashed to a flat 2%. The same cut applies when you're sending money abroad for education or medical treatment. This means some very real relief for a lot of middle-class families.
There's also some relief on the indirect tax side of things. Customs duty on goods you import for personal use is being cut in half, from 20% down to 10%. There are also critical exemptions on life-saving drugs for cancer and rare diseases. And for small businesses, getting rid of the value cap on e-commerce exports is a huge deal, helping them tap into global markets more easily.
So, let's just pull it all together. The grand vision of a developed India by 2047 isn't just a catchy slogan, it's being backed by some very concrete actions. We've seen massive spending on infrastructure, a really strategic push into skilling for the future, a clear commitment to keeping finances in check, and a major move to make taxes simpler for everyone.
So, the blueprint is laid out. Those three duties, powering the economy, investing in people, and ensuring inclusion, are the chosen path. But of course, the ultimate question remains. Will this ambitious strategy be the one that successfully paves the road for India to become a developed nation by its 100th birthday? I guess only time will tell.